Hello and welcome back to the Student Pages podcast. And I'm joined today by the wonderfully talented voice actress, Emma Berman. Hello, Emma. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Wonderful. I see you're one of our first guests that has actually joined us from outer space.
Yes, really.
I'll ask you a little bit more about your adventures in space later, but I have to admit, I've got to address the elephant in the room. You are 14 years. I don't know what I was doing at 14 years old. I think I was a goth. That makes me reflect on like what little I have done. So you are a child voice actress who is currently doing such big things as working with Disney. You are currently voice acting a character in a Star Wars series. And I just want to circle back what was probably a matter of months ago for you, but I want to know how you got into voice acting.
So how I really got into acting was when I was young. When I was 7, I did theater all around.
Pretty young. I'll confirm
that was
definitely. I'll be honest.
Pretty young. So I started doing theater, and then I thought, wow, acting is really cool. I maybe want to try getting into, what I see on TV. And so I started going to classes for on-camera acting, and there I got scouted by an agency. So then now I'm with an agency, and then they send me voiceover auditions. And actually the first voiceover audition I did was for Leapfrog, to be the voice in Toys for Leapfrog, and I actually got it. And so I ended up voicing a ton of Toys for Leapfrog. And then the big audition for Luca came, and then I booked Giulia and Luca, and then my voiceover career just continued from there.
That is such an insane story. I think that is what every 7-year-old probably dreams of when they sign up to their local amateur dramatics class.
I could not have imagined that this is where that one acting class where I got scouted would have taken me.
There are so many stars these days who are like Hollywood level famous. I'm talking Zendaya, Ariana Grande, who have literally shot to stardom after careers with Disney.
Right.
What ideal route would you see yourself taking from here?
Well, I mean, obviously being a big actor has been a dream forever, but I know that that's not always, super attainable. So I guess a more realistic goal or regular career path, I guess, would just be I want to major in film. I want to understand the behind the scenes work that goes into the filmmaking process. And so I definitely want to work in the Hollywood industry, even if that doesn't mean that I'm on screen. I want to work behind the scenes then.
So you would see yourself going into more production or something?
Yeah, I could definitely see myself going into production unless somehow I become some big Hollywood star. Then obviously that would be cool.
I mean, you're on a pretty good trajectory. Call up Leapfrog again. Maybe they've got like a screenwriting class or something at Leapfrog.
That would be awesome.
See, musical theatre has also been a big part of your life as well. How do you sort of navigate voice acting, musical theatre? Do you have a favourite?
I think, well, theater is my roots, and so I'm very connected to that. But voiceover, honestly, is my full passion. I go into every single recording session with this just joy, pure joy in my heart, because I love it so much. So I definitely say that theater holds a very special place in my heart because it's how I started, and I still participate in theater. But voice acting is just my whole heart has voiceover, And
is there a favorite memory from what has probably been your career has been half of your life at this point?
My favorite memory from, Young Jedi Adventures, which is the show I'm on now, is after my first recording session, once we finished recording the first episode, they said, "Welcome to the galaxy, Emma."
So you've been officially welcomed to the Star Wars galaxy. Yeah. How does it feel to be part of such an iconic franchise as Star Wars at such a young age?
Being part of the Star Wars family is something that I could never have possibly imagined I would get into, It's such an incredible honor, and I'm so lucky that I was trusted to voice such an awesome character in a Star Wars show.
So you voice, I believe the name Nash Durango. I hope
Nash Durango, yes.
Nash Durango sounds very cool in Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures. Do you have any similarities between yourself and the character?
I think that me and Nash, just by nature, are so similar. I will look at her lines that I'm recording, and I have to think, how would I say this? I don't have to go into a different character. She's literally me. And I think that's so fun because it makes my job so easy. It's just so fun. I go into the recording session and I read the lines like how I would, and that's how Nash is. And so I don't even know how to put my finger on what is the same about us. It's just by nature, the things we say, how we act, the things we do, it's all how I am. And I think that's so awesome.
And is that your favorite type of character to enact, ones that you can relate to?
I definitely think so. I mean, honestly, all of my characters I've related to. I mean, other than a singing picnic basket.
Okay, singing picnic basket. What? Where was this?
In Leapfrog, I got to be a picnic basket and a tea set. But when I'm voicing characters on screen, for example, Giulia and Ginny and Nash, I really relate to all of them. I think all of them, yeah, naturally, I feel so connected to all of them. And I think that makes it super fun. So I've never even gotten to play a character that I don't fully relate to, but I think that would be a super cool challenge because that's not something I've really done before.
Would you ever expand into that like villain instead of the hero?
Oh yeah, I've always wanted to be a villain, but I think that I don't know if my voice would fit well for a villain. I think I sound very happy.
I was gonna say you sound far too joyous to be associated with anything like that. I think if there's, I don't know, maybe a Yorkshire villain in Star Wars up there in space, I could possibly have a stab at auditioning, but that's it. So just to expand on the other work that you've done with Disney as well, you mentioned that you voiced Giulia in Disney's Luca. Yeah. How did it feel to hear your voice on a big screen?
Oh, that was the coolest thing ever. Before the premiere of Luca, I got to watch it maybe 5 or 6 times because of interviews, and I got to see rough drafts of it. And I remember the first time that I got to see my voice come out of Giulia, that's another core memory. I was just absolutely shook because I mean, I've obviously like heard my voice come out of things, but to see it in the middle of a Pixar movie as my first big role, because that was my first movie that was like fully my big break, and I was so young also, and to hear my voice come out of Giulia was just like mind-blowing.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more about how that audition came about?
So once I signed with my agency, they just send me lots of auditions. And so I got the audition for Giulia, and then I worked with my coach, and then I got a call back on it. And so I got to go into the Emeryville studios at Pixar. And I used to live in San Francisco, so I was about 30-minute drive from there. It was perfect. And after the callback, they booked me for something called scratch recording, which is when they use your voice as, a placeholder before they maybe find who they're actually going to use, just while they're finishing up the script and drawing the characters and stuff. And I think that's probably why me and Giulia have a lot of the very similar facial features and the way that we move and obviously the way we talk, but the way that we move, like when we talk, is super similar. And I think that has to do with scratch. And then after I booked scratch, they booked me for the real role. And that was a shocker because I didn't know that I thought I was just gonna do scratch. And that was really, really cool.
It's so interesting to hear you talk about scratch and like industry terms. Can you elaborate a little bit more on your training that you've had to get into voice acting, as it is so specialized?
Honestly, I didn't have any voice acting training before I went into it. I just did theater, and I think that in a way, theater and voiceover are super similar. I mean, I'm also naturally a pretty animated person, but with theater and voiceover, they're super similar because, when you're performing on stage, you have to perform for the people in the back so they can know everything you're doing. So you have to be super big. And then in voiceover, nobody sees your face. So you also have to make everything a bit bigger. And so I think in that way, theater was my voiceover training. And so when people ask me, how do I get into voiceover? I say theater is a really good way to, practice it. But I had some on-camera training experience and I did theater. So I guess I was just familiar with acting, and then voiceover just happened.
I mean, it's clear because you can tell in your voice that you have so much energy, and you mentioned you speak so joyfully, but maybe that's because I'm like double your age now and exhausted.
I hope that I can sound this young forever because I think that'll help me get roles in the future.
See, I would call your generation like the TikTok generation. Have you utilized any like social media to enhance your career or enhance like your following? Because I don't understand any of those things. I don't even have the app on my phone.
I don't know if it really enhances my career, but I do have Instagram and I have a little bit of a following there. So that's pretty cool. But that's really the only app that I'm on. And I just joined Threads like yesterday. I don't know where that came from.
See, I refuse to move from Twitter now. Maybe it's the old person in me, but I've dug my heels into the ground there. I refuse to download any more social media at this point. My screen time is through the roof as it is. Speaking of, do you have any like other hobbies that like keep you grounded whilst you're up in Hollywood?
I mean, I still go to public school. I know a lot of actors are homeschooled, so that definitely keeps me grounding, is going to school every day, doing my homework, seeing my friends, and then on occasion, maybe I have a recording session once a week, and then I go to LA maybe once every 2 months. And so I think it's a really beautiful, awesome balance of being able to work as a kid actor and kind of live that Hollywood life on occasion when I go to LA, and then also just being a regular teenage kid. So I think I have a really good balance in that definitely keeps me grounded.
So speaking about advice to anybody else out there who would want to get into acting or musical theatre, is there anything that you can offer any of the listeners, since you've been so successful already?
I definitely think it's very important to, well, especially if you want to do voiceover, and honestly, even regular acting, theater is a really great way to start. And also taking classes, finding your local studios and where the classes that will inform you on how to, act and stuff like that. And I think that the most important thing about acting is that you have to be super passionate about it, because the hours can be super long. You get really tired afterwards. And it's really easy for me because my heart is fully in it. And I love this so much. And I think that goes for everything in life, honestly. If you only do it because you want to be successful, or like you like the idea of being a really famous actor, you have to actually really love the process, because the process is where it's at. And so I think that's a really important part of it, is you have to fully be really inspired to do the acting.
That's so lovely to like hear you say that you even love the harder moments when it comes to the actual process, and like improving is something that's so central to your idea about being a star. Looking forward, is there any other sort of character or ideal character that's already out there that you would have loved to have voiced?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, I'm so lucky to say that I've been in Pixar and Disney Junior and Star Wars. And so I think that it'd be really cool to travel over to Marvel. I think that would be fun to tackle all the parts of Disney Plus and National Geographic if that comes up.
I don't know. I honestly, if I got to voice something alongside David Attenborough, that would definitely be a bucket list item for me.
Yeah, maybe I should be in the Chris Hemsworth show where he goes and swims with the sharks.
Oh no, that'd be too far for me. You go and do that. That's So in this industry, is anybody that you particularly look up to or that inspires you?
I'm a super big fan of Emma Watson. I love her so much because Harry Potter is one of my favorite film franchises. And so I've always loved her journey, especially since she started so young and she just got scouted at her school. I love her story and the way that she came about and what she's doing now in the world. She's such a well-rounded person, and I think that's super inspirational.
It's funny that you say that, because I think I probably based my entire personality for a good decade off Hermione Granger, the character. I don't know if you feel the same, and like the way the films came out, I sort of like grew up with the films as well.
Oh yeah.
So I irreversible improvement, irreversible damage to my entire psyche. Is there anything coming up in the future for you that you'd like to tell any of our listeners about?
Well, right now, what's airing is Superkitties season 1. So I've voiced Ginny in Superkitties, and season 2 is in the mix right now. And so you can all watch out for that one.
I'm brilliant. And when does this come out?
I'm not sure when it comes out, but I think season 1 is going to continue dropping, and then season 2 is going to come out maybe next year. So just be on the lookout for all of the Young Jedi Adventures episodes, because season 1 and then season 1 also for Superkitties.
That's fantastic. Honestly, I really do wish you all the best, and I hope that I hear your voice on a screen somewhere soon. It's been absolutely lovely.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So good to talk to you.